death comes twice. The first time is when your heart stops beating. The second time is much earlier, when you agree to trade your best, healthiest years for a phantom number on a banking app that you'll likely never turn into reality. Right now, as you watch this video, you're participating in the largest scam in human history. And the scariest part is, you're its main sponsor. My name is Lily. I'm not here to tell you how to save for retirement. I'm here to dissect your current life and show you how the system is draining your energy, using fear as fuel. Do you think working past 59 is responsible? No, 90% of the time, it's the result of institutional hypnosis. You're running a marathon, the finish line constantly being pushed back by those who benefit from your participation. Let's talk about the guy from Microsoft. He was a model cog, 15 years in the corporate machine. He saved like a maniac, filled his retirement account to the brim, and by age 42, he had accumulated $750,000. His colleagues planned to toil until 65, to save $5 million and finally start living. But he did what the system hates most. He got out a calculator. He realized that his $750,000 was already a critical mass. If he simply left it alone, even at modest interest, it would turn into $2.5 million on its own by the time he officially retired. He quit and went to teach yoga. His income dropped fivefold, but his freedom increased infinitely. He ceased being a resource and became a person again. Now look at his opposite, a lawyer, 51 years old. He has $1,200,000. He earns $300,000 a year, but sleeps only 4 hours a night. He's convinced he's not enough. He's afraid of inflation, afraid of taxes, afraid of a market crash. But the math is merciless. His capital will double in 12 years without a single extra hour of overtime. He's already rich. But he lives like a pauper because his mind is in a prison he pays for out of his own pocket. There are two engines in your financial story. Engine 1 is your investments. That's your sweat, blood, and time. At the beginning, that's your only chance. Without your disciplined work, the carriage won't move. But there's engine 2, compound interest. At the beginning, it's like a dead pony. You invested $10,000, got $700 in growth. Funny. You think, this isn't working. But these two horses don't remain equal. At a certain point in the journey, the pony turns into a freaking monster. This is the crossover point, the moment when your money generates more return in a year than you can earn and save from your salary. If your portfolio has grown by $20,000 in a year, and you invested $10,000, congratulations. You've officially become a supporting actor in your own wealth. Compound interest is now doing the bulk of the work for you, and you keep toiling away as if your salvation depended on it. Why don't they tell you this? Because banks, funds, and corporations don't want a free you. They want a scared you. They want you to feel insecure. They sell you security, but in reality, they're selling you perpetual dependence. They tell you that 4% per annum is magic, but they forget to tell you that 1% in hidden management fees eats up 10 years of your potential freedom. The system wants you to be a perpetual donor. You've been conditioned to think that enough means having so much money in your account that you can't spend it. That's a lie. Enough means your current capital can support your future without your further investment. This is called Coast FI, financial independence on the fly. And most of you are much closer to this point than you think. You just don't know how to calculate it because no one cares about your financial literacy. If you realize you no longer need to add wood to the stove, you'll hit the quit button. And that means billions in losses for those who build their skyscrapers on your uncertainty about the future. We live in an era of digital slavery where chains are made of Tesla loans and the fear of inflation. But math is the key to unlocking these chains. If you realize that halfway to your financial goal in dollars is actually 90% of the way in time, you'll be horrified by how many extra years you're planning to give your employer. Are you willing to trade thousands of days of your life to see a pretty number on your monitor a couple of years sooner? That's not planning. That's voluntary self-sacrifice on the altar of corporate vanity. It's time to cut through this illusion with the scalpel of logic and see how much of your life has already been stolen and how much more can be saved. Let's get down to the numbers that make your financial advisor's hands shake. There's a term they try not to utter out loud because it makes their services, their complex strategies, and their endless fees seem completely worthless. It's Coast, FI. Financial independence on the coast. It's the point at which you no longer build your future. It builds itself while you sleep, take a walk in the woods, or finally learned to play guitar without thinking about how much your hourly rate is worth. Most people make the same fatal mistake. They believe in linear progression. You think, if I need 1 million and I have 500,000, then I'm halfway there. The math looks at you with pity and says, no, you're an idiot. In a world of exponential growth and compound interest, 500,000 isn't the halfway point in money. It's almost the end of the journey in time. Take your target capital. Let's say it's that gold standard, $1 million, supposedly supposed to give you peace of mind. If you're 35 or 40 years old now, and you have $300,000 invested in a broad index fund, you're officially free. Even with a conservative return of 5% above inflation, your $300,000 will turn into $1 million by age 62, without a single penny of additional contributions. Do you understand what that means? It means that every penny you save beyond that, every overtime shift, every stress from a last-minute project, is a voluntary sacrifice of your life to the corporate machine. You're continuing to run a wheel that's long since reached its desired speed. You're wasting your precious life force trying to increase a number that will grow without your help. But the system is designed to never make you feel safe. You'll be endlessly bombarded with stories of market volatility, geopolitical instability, and new taxes. This is financial noise, created to keep you plowing. Let's cut through this noise with the scalpel of pure logic. The biggest risk in your life isn't the index falling 20% next year. The index will recover. It always does. The biggest risk is spending a decade of your life accumulating money you'll never physically need. This is reverse survivorship bias. You're preparing for a financial catastrophe that has a 90% chance of not happening. And the price of this preparation is your life itself, the only thing that will definitely end. Consider the concept of time tax. When you're young, your hour of work is cheap because you have tens of thousands of them ahead of you. But when you're in your 50s, every hour is a dwindling, scarce resource. At that age, 1 year of your active life is worth 5 years of your youth. So what do? You sell that precious year for the same salary to refill an account that's already full. You buy insurance against an imaginary fear at the cost of your only reality. It's the worst bargain a person ever made. You trade now, when you can still hike and see the world without getting out of breath, for later, when your main entertainment will be choosing between different types of painkillers. Why can't you stop? Because you've fallen into a trap I call the another year syndrome. This year is the most effective way to kill your dreams. This year, you'll decide to buy a more expensive car because I earned it, I worked so hard. That car will come with higher insurance, taxes, and maintenance. Your monthly expenses will rise. And suddenly, your coast number, the very number that gave you freedom, is racing ahead. You yourself, with your own hands, are pushing back the finish line. You're turning your financial independence into an endless race for consumption. You've become a hostage to your own comfort. You're afraid to leave not because you won't have enough money to buy bread, but because you're afraid your former colleague will look at your old phone with sympathy. Congratulations. You've traded your freedom for the opinion of someone who doesn't really care about you. Let's implant a new formula in your brain. It's simple. Enough isn't when you have a lot, but when you don't need more to be yourself. If you define your level of enough and commit to it, you'll instantly become richer than any billionaire still trying to prove their worth by buying another yacht. CoastFI gives you the right to downshift. You can keep working, but on your own terms. You can leave a toxic office for a lower-level, more fulfilling position. You can work 3 days a week. The magic is that when work ceases to be a matter of physical survival, it often begins to bring more pleasure and, paradoxically, more money. Because you stop being a frightened slave, afraid of being fired, and become a confident player, backed by a mathematical monster generating profits. But hitting the exit button takes courage. The courage to admit that the numbers on the app aren't your identity, that your status as vice president of something is just an empty shell. The system will resist your awakening. Your friends and family will look at you like you're crazy because your departure will highlight their own cowardice. If you leave, they'll be forced to admit they could do it too, but are simply afraid. It's much easier for them to dismiss you as weird or lazy than to admit they're prisoners of the system. Most online retirement calculators you find online are created by corporations, and they're lying to you. They use inflated consumption standards and lowered return expectations to keep you perpetually short. They don't take government benefits into account, and they don't consider your adaptability. They want you to save 5 million instead of 1. 5 million generates 5 times the bank fees. They milk you while you're young and continue to milk you as you age, all under the guise of worrying about your future. It's time to take stock of your time bucket. Why are you constantly collecting new coins while losing the very hours? In the next section, we'll explore the final stage: how exactly to design your life after the crossover, and why doing nothing is a skill you'll have to relearn. We've reached the most dangerous part of this game, the moment when the math ends and pure survival psychology begins. You can calculate your coast number down to the last cent. You can hang charts all over the house, but it won't help unless you kill the inner slave. Most people who achieve financial crossover never hit the exit button. They freeze, paralyzed, in front of a door that's long been open. Why? Because the system, over 30 years of office life, has done to you what they do to circus elephants. They're tied with a thin rope to a small peg. The elephant could rip that peg out in one move, but it doesn't even try because it's been trained. Resistance is futile. Your stumbling block is the fear of becoming invisible. You're afraid that without your title, your work calendar, and your monthly report, you'll become a nobody. It's called the retirement identity crisis, and corporations use it as a free ride. They know you'd rather burn out at work than face the quiet of your own home and the question, who am I really? But here's the hard truth. A week after you leave, you'll be forgotten. Your desk will be occupied by someone younger and cheaper, your brilliant projects will be consigned to the archives, and your colleagues will be discussing new KPIs. You've traded 30 years for an illusion of significance that can be erased with the click of a delete account button. It's time for a serious mortality audit. Take the average life expectancy. Subtract your current age from it. And now, and this is the most important part, subtract 10 years from that remainder. This is the period of active decline when your body still allows you to be free. How many days do you have left? 5,000? 3,000? Now look at your work contract. Are you seriously willing to give up 2,000 of those days to increase your account balance from 1.5 million to 2? Do you realize you're buying extra zeros at the cost of your ability to walk, see, and savor life? You're trading gold for sand and calling it planning. Here's your step-by-step evacuation algorithm if the numbers on your calculator already match. Step 1. Recognize the sufficiency threshold. Your lifestyle is your prison. You work harder to buy things you don't need, to impress people you don't like. Stop lifestyle inflation. If you fix your expenses at the level of 5 years ago, your coast number will become a reality tomorrow. Freedom isn't the ability to buy whatever you want. Freedom is not the need to buy what's forced upon you. Step 2. Create a safety bucket. Pre-market panic can only be cured with cash. Before you quit or slow down, save up enough to cover your basic expenses for the next 3 years. Put it in a deposit or short-term bonds. This is your psychological armor. No matter what happens to stocks, you have 36 months of peace of mind. During this time, any crisis passes its acute phase. Once you have this bucket, the argument, what if the market crashes, turns from an existential threat into a minor inconvenience. Step 3. Kill the corporate personality. Start rehearsing your exit a year before the end. Find a hobby, community, or project where your name means more than your job title. If you don't find a reason to wake up every morning without orders from above, you'll return to the office 6 months later simply out of boredom. You must learn to be nobody to the system in order to become everything to yourself. Step 4. Regret tax. Every year after reaching Coast F.I. that you spend at a job you hate is a net loss. You're paying taxes on time you'll never get back. Imagine yourself at 80. What will you regret more? Having 300,000 less in your account, or missing out on seeing your children grow up, taking that trip, and living those 10 years of peace before your joints started hurting? The answer is obvious, but you continue to choose money because it's easier to quantify than happiness. Listen to me carefully. The system won't break if you leave, the world won't stop, but your one life, it has a way of ending abruptly. We saw it at the Studebaker plant. We see it every day in offices around the world. People die at the finish line, never having waited for the perfect moment. The perfect moment doesn't exist. There is only mathematics and your courage to follow its conclusions. Your coast number isn't just a number. It's your declaration of independence. It's proof that you're no longer the company's property. If your money can grow on its own, you've won. The game is over. Take off your headphones, exit the simulation, stop feeding your ego, and start feeding your life. At the end of the journey, you won't have the option to pay extra for another year of health or another week of intimacy with your loved ones.